Hi, everyone. Welcome to 5 Assumptions That Keep You from Finding Love Again. We're so excited to be with you tonight.
Yes, we are. Glad you could come.
Yeah, we are so glad. I'd like to start with getting us all on the same page. Let's do a little grounding meditation. So find a comfortable position and put your feet flat on the floor. Uncross your arms and legs. And you can close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath and slowly let it out. And another nice deep breath and slowly let it out. And one more nice deep breath in. And just let all the cares of the day out with your breath. Good. And now, as you feel your feet on the floor, just feel the energy in your feet going deep into the earth, grounding you to the earth. And just bring in the energy of the earth up through your feet, all the way into your chest and up into your head and up out the top of your head. And bring in the light from above, the pure, pristine white light of Hashem's light, God's light. And let that white light come in through your head. And just notice that if there are any thoughts going on in your head, you can just acknowledge those thoughts and the white light will just wash them away. Just allow them to be washed away now. And as the light continues into your body, into your heart area, into your chest cavity, if there are any feelings or emotions going on right now, you can just take a moment and acknowledge those emotions and just let them go. Just let the light cleanse and wash away all those feelings. And as the light continues into your body, notice if there are any bodily sensations that are distracting you. And just acknowledge them now and allow them to go. Just release them from your body and let the light cleanse and clear all the sensations from your body. And just rest for a moment, feeling completely clear, relaxed, centered, and grounded, and ready to hear what's going to be discussed this evening. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and return to the room. Get to know us. So I'm going to briefly tell my story and then let Yitzi tell his story. So you know why you're dealing with us.
Looking up there.
Okay, thank you. So 2 years ago at the beginning of COVID, closely following the death of my mom, 2 weeks later, my husband of 23 years passed away quite suddenly. He was supposed to have open heart surgery the following week, and he had been in the hospital for testing, and they had just released him to me on Friday afternoon, and we had a wonderful, relaxed Shabbat, beautiful Shabbat, and then he went upstairs to bed, and that was that. So following that big shock, and going through my grieving process for about almost a year, I decided that I wanted to start dating again because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't think, I felt like I was a young person, um, maybe not chronologically, but certainly physically, emotionally, mentally young person. And I have a lot of love to give. And I decided to start doing that. And what happened was that someone actually called to make a shidduch for me. And I was really hesitant. And because it was COVID, there was a long time on the phone. And I finally met him and went out a couple of times with it. It didn't work, but it did get my feet wet. And then my next step was to go on one of the dating sites. And I met some really nice people on the dating site. And I looked at a lot of really nice people on the dating site. One of them was a guy in a cowboy hat that someone suggested to me that that I should really reach out to him. But being an old-fashioned girl, I wasn't sure about that, so I didn't. But I did practically memorize his profile. So then one day I said, this isn't working for me. I need to try something different. So I think everybody I meet today, I'm going to tell them that I'm looking to date. Do they know anyone? So that morning, I walk out my door, I walk to the Macolet, I come on my way back from the Macolet, the local store. I run into Joanne and I say, hi, Joanne. She says, hi. Hey, you look great. I said, thank you. I'm looking to date. Do you know anyone? She says, well, let me think. And then she said, our mutual friends, Tom and Deborah have this friend in Beit Shemesh named Yitzi, and he's a widower and he's from Texas. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's the guy I saw on the profile. And I said, yeah, okay. She said, let me talk to her. So I never see Joanne. So this was really interesting. The next day I went out to the market and there was Joanne. And I never see Joanne. So I went up to her and I said, hey, Joanne, did you talk to Deb? And she said, I did. And she said, you should call her. So I called her up and she said, I've spoken to him and he says he's interested in meeting you and we're going to have you over for Shabbat in the next 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I met Yitzi, and because of COVID, we also spent a lot of time on the phone in the beginning, but ultimately we started dating and the rest is history. I won't go into the details, but you see here we are. And now, Yitzi, you can tell your background story.
Well, I'm originally an East Texas boy. I've been in Israel for 16 years now. I made Aliyah with my then wife, Sarah, and my 2 daughters followed shortly after. They were both finishing up university and arrived within weeks of the time that we arrived. We had basically told them that we're making Aliyah, you can join us if you like. And we pretty much knew the younger was already in. The eldest one, she was not so sure. She said maybe she'd come for a vacation visit and think about it. One thing led to another, and then about 4 years ago, almost exactly 4 years ago, I was sitting with my then wife, Sarah, and we had Shabbat dinner, and we were also celebrating 37 years of marriage, and we had a really nice Shabbat dinner, and about 4 hours later, she passed away at Shari Tzedek Hospital. Completely unexpected. We were looking forward to the birth of our then 7th grandchild in 2 weeks. And she had just been gone with some of the other grandkids the day before. Everything was fine. Just one of those things that happens in life. So I spent about a year recovering from that loss. It's the only time I've ever been married. We had a good marriage. Thank God for my friends and my family that got me through it. But then after, I don't know, probably around 7, 8 months, I started getting calls from people. Was I ready to meet someone? And I would just turn them down flat. I just wasn't ready yet. I was steadily improving, every day was better, but I wasn't ready. And then eventually, about 11 and a half months, I decided to make a JWed profile and just to see what's going on out there. I'd been off the market for about 39 years at that time, and I had no clue. I mean, I was secular at the time that I married my first wife, and needless to say, living in America, not Israel, and this was going to be a completely different thing for me. And online dating, I always thought was a joke for a lot of years. I mean, like, who could possibly date online? That didn't make any sense to me at all. Anyway, I opened a profile, and lo and behold, there were quite a few ladies out there with interesting profiles. And before I knew it, I started getting emails from them. And so I did quite a bit of dating over about a 2.5-year period. Although I'll say the best dates I had were dates that were set up for me, introductions that were made for me, I should say, not set up dates. They were, I don't think any of them were really blind dates, but people would introduce me, people that knew both of us. Those were probably the best ones, but I wouldn't rule out online dating. It's a good introduction service, if nothing else. Anyhow, it turned out that after, trying to figure out my footing, it wasn't so bad. And I actually had a pretty good time. And I looked and I looked and I looked some more. And I met a lot of really interesting ladies, and some of them I went out with for quite a while. But in the end, I wasn't finding the right one. And sometimes I got discouraged, and I wondered, maybe this is not going to be the right thing for me, although I really knew in my heart that I wanted to be with someone. But it makes you wonder. I mean, all the things we're going to talk about tonight, all the difficulties, the doubts, the concerns. I had all of those things at some point during that process of 2.5 years. And I think everybody goes through that. And and I know that Mayra also went through a lot of those things as well. So we've learned a lot, and we put our heads together. And because Mayra is this amazing life coach, certified counselor, therapist in many different modalities, she has got all sorts of tools to work. And we got discussing this. And then after being told over and over and over again by people who were at our wedding, which is a whole nother story. That was a miracle in itself. It was this most magnificent wedding with about 300 people. And people got so inspired. We were told over and over again. Yeah, street wedding was a lot of fun. And the neighborhood made it for us, actually. But it was a lot of fun. And so many people, even to this day, I think you had someone approach you today in the market saying they were inspired by us. So over the last year, we've said, well, less than a year now. What,
9 months?
9 months.
9
just had our
months.
9-month anniversary. We were saying we've got to do something about this. I have a long career in several different fields, actually. I was always a leader and a planner and a motivator. Therefore, I had to teach and coach people all my life. And I've also been involved in some other forms of coaching in the last couple of years. One of them is involved with a type of keto diet coaching called carnivore, although keto is very closely related. And I had great success working with a few dozen people there. So we decided maybe we should put this together and do something with it.
Yeah. So if you're looking to find love again, you're in the right place. That's what I want you to know. So today we're going to talk about the 5 assumptions, which are based on Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal's 5 emotions. They keep you from finding love again. And these 5 emotions lead to those assumptions, and they lead you away from the life that you want. And therefore, we need to understand what they are. So these are sadness, lack, anger, doubt, and I missed one.
Next page.
And seeking pleasure. These are the 5. And what happens is that these emotions trigger powerful thoughts, and the thoughts cause the assumptions that we make. And those assumptions lead us in the opposite direction from what we want. So we're going to go ahead and talk about those now. And if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat, and we will answer those at our Q&A session when we get finished with the presentation. So, you want to start?
Okay. Well, first, we're going to talk for just a second about sadness and grief. I touched on it already in my introduction, but it's normal when a relationship ends, whether it be divorce or a bereavement, that after a time, depending on the person, the relationship and the cause, the sadness will gradually leave. This varies with everybody. And unfortunately, some people get stuck in the sadness and grief and can't seem to break that cycle. So that's one of the things that we will be addressing in the course. It should be, hopefully, it's beginning to become plain that our goals are to work at some of the root causes in everyone, individuals who are having difficulty moving on for whatever reason, or just in finding success in dating and finding someone. But anyway, some people will develop thoughts like, my partner was so good that I can never meet another one like them, that they were literally irreplaceable. And Mayor and I know of several people like this, but one in particular we frequently are in contact with and we talk about, and this person has had a really difficult time for many years and been stuck in exactly this position.
Mm-hmm.
Other times people will fall into a rut of thinking all the good ones are already taken. And I know we've both been there.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's very hard. It's more than just finding really nice people. There are a lot of good, talented, attractive people out there. That's not the issue. The issue is finding that person that is your soulmate, that you really click with. And part of that is doing a self-assessment that we hope to help people with, that will help you arrive at what is it that your heart really desires, not what you think in your head, but what is it that your heart really desires, what is going to work for you, and what are your standards in all of these things. Mm-hmm. So let's see, my next point was, I said that there were often the thought is there are no good men or women out there. So then there's this thing of falling into despair to a certain degree. So why bother? And then this person ends up, this prospective partner ends up thinking, why bother? And stops the process even before it gets launched. And I know we can relate to this, and I think that you folks out there can too. And so I think it's something that we all need to give some consideration to as we prepare to move forward. So the next item that I want to address is lack. Lack comes in a number of forms. It can be thoughts like, I'm not attractive enough. I'm not young enough. I don't have the confidence I had 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever the case is, to go out there again with myself, I've been through an illness, and I had to take a lot of medications, and I gained a lot of weight. And, as I was beginning to come out of the grieving, it was like all these thoughts are, well, I don't know, would anybody even want me? I've been sick. I've gained a lot of weight. I don't feel attractive. I could barely walk as I began to recover. I was told I was going to be in a wheelchair. That's how bad it was. We'd already rented a wheelchair to try it out because that's what we were told was going to happen. And I was struggling just to stand up, let alone walk. But I say that to point out that we've all had our life's trials, and those trials can become mountains in front of us when we're trying to move forward. And we can't let our mind put us in a state of lack that makes us think that we cannot rejoin life and be fully active. So, we go on to think, and we make up more and more of these reasons. It can be financial, it can be about success, about being athletic, about being sexy enough.
Or young enough.
I had all of these thoughts and feelings. And it's a different story, but through the grace of God, Hashem gave me a way through dieting that cured the disease that I had that had been progressively making me sicker and sicker. At about the whole time that all this began, with shortly after my first wife passed away, actually, I began to get back on track again. And I got a complete remission. And it was nothing short of a miracle. It's another story, and it's the reason that motivated me to go into coaching about diet. But I want everyone to understand that we all have our challenges. You have your own special challenges. I had mine, Mira had hers, and I'm sure that you have yours as well. So this is about addressing those things. What we don't want to do is get into repeating a litany of that we're not good enough and use that as a justification for being alone. So I can tell you honestly that many of these thoughts come around over and over and over again, and I'm sure that each one of you is aware of that and you've experienced them for yourselves. So leading in from that one to the next one is doubt. And doubt is a huge stopper.
Yeah.
Doubt can tie you up in knots and tie you to your chair. And I know we've all thought this, if not said it, and some people live in this place, but you come to this place where you say, well, I don't know, I can't do anything, I've done everything. Hashem's just going to have to drop my perfect husband or wife in my lap, but I'm going to sit home and wait for that and pray. And listen, I'm not a rabbi, I can't give you a lecture on this, but there's such a thing as histadlut. We have to get out there and do the work. And I don't care what it is. If you want to have parnasa, if you want to have a mate, if you want to have a home, if you want to have children, speaking in the past for all of us, this requires work, desire, discipline, and sacrifice. And sometimes the sacrifice is going to be letting go of the doubts and fears that we've built up as we got to this point in our life. So we'll often think that we'll stop ourselves from dating when the prospect of a blind date gets close because all of these doubts overwhelm us. And sometimes it happens at the last minute. And whether it was early in your life when you were dating, or perhaps more recently, you've experienced these last minute phone calls from someone that you had set up a date with, and it seems very flimsy and your spidey senses going off that something is wrong. And oftentimes it's the doubt and fear that overwhelm them. And at the very last minute, they decide, I can't take it. I'm afraid I can't go forward. So don't take these personally either if they happen to you. I'll just give you that little word of advice because it does happen. So we're back to thinking, is there someone good out there? And how am I going to find him or her? We have to develop new tools at our age and new perspective. Heaven knows I had no idea where to begin when I started over. And honestly, once I got over some of my own fears and put my foot in the water and did a few experimental dates, it wasn't so bad. It comes back. So I'll say that if you haven't been out there in a while, you really need to think about it and maybe start making a plan. But in the meantime, also, we will be there available to help and try to formulate a better plan for you and help you deal with if you need any issues that you have, so you can overcome those and get out there and have some fun and find somebody special for yourself. We often think that we see someone out there with a nice profile and we hesitate to contact them. And I know this is particularly true with the ladies. The men are coached to be braver than that. But let me tell you, I know some guys, they're scared. They're afraid of rejection, just like sometimes the ladies are, and they're afraid to reach out. But I'll tell you as a guy, just for you ladies out there, that this is 2021, and it doesn't hurt if you make the first move.
It's actually 2022.
2022, excuse me. Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Where does the time go?
I know. Been having too much fun.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a new age, a new time, a new way. Who of us ever heard of online dating? It certainly wasn't such a thing when we were young.
No.
So yeah, we have to learn how to deal with a new reality and face it. You just have to face that. And it's not as hard as you might think if you're hesitating. But again, I would just say, no matter man, woman, don't be afraid to make that first move. It can be very simple. It can be something like, hey, someone mentioned your name to me, gave me your phone number, or I saw your profile online. I think you're interesting. Let's have a phone call and go out for a coffee.
Yeah.
A coffee date is harmless, and they can be as long or as short as you need it to be. And it's a very low investment. It's also a way to get your feet wet and make you feel normal again and make you envision moving on to a better future. So don't be in a position where you take no action and you wallow in indecision and you can't move forward.
Right. So there are two more. One of them is seeking after pleasure. The Arizal called it seeking after pleasure. It is an emotion or amida, we call it amida, that is akin to lust. We'll just go ahead and use that word. But a seeking after pleasure could be as simple as not wanting to leave your comfort zone because you're comfortable there. Why leave it? Why not stay home and watch TV instead of trying to meet somebody online or go to a singles meet or whatever?
That was an easy rut to get into during COVID when we couldn't go out.
It was, but that won't let you get out of your house, much less start dating. And so I think that lust can actually be any really strong desire, including sexual desire. Of course, it includes that. And one assumption that I have heard, I've actually heard a number of women saying, is that that the older men they meet, they are suspicious of them. They think that maybe they don't really want love and companionship, but what they want is someone to care for them in their old age. And I've heard this not once and not twice. And this is an incredibly large generalization. And
By the way, I've never heard a man say that.
really,
Not
well,
personally.
well, it's just a stopper. It's a no-go. It's just stops you before you get started. You don't even get a chance to meet the person because you've already made that assumption, and it may not be true. Most of our assumptions are not true. Um, I've also heard that one of the myths going around is that people over 50 don't have any interest in sex, and this assumption lets out at least half of the population of this population that, according to studies, have shown that there is a significant interest in sex over the age of 50. And I won't even go into anything more than that. So anyhow, my teacher, Daniel Katz, says that there is a higher aspect to love, to lust, that if you can elevate the emotion or meta of lust, you can elevate it to a level of the desire for connection. And this could be desire for connection with Hashem. This could be desire for connection on the soul level with the other person that you want to get close to. And this is something to be worked on, to be worked for, really. Okay, and the last area is anger or frustration. Frustration is really just a form of anger. And this is the fiery area. This is a hot one. We may be carrying a lot of anger with us as a result of things that transpired in our last relationship, whatever it was, if it was our spouse, or if it was, a relationship that we were in that may have lasted a little while. And we may carry over some anger for that. If we don't clear that emotion, it will have a tendency to spill over into our interactions and mar a potential relationship with someone because you're coming off angry. And I frequently also hear women saying that that men their age prefer younger women than, and therefore they don't have a chance. And I have to say to this that there is some truth to that. There are men out there that want to find a younger woman, and this is because they've been influenced by television and movies. They've been influenced by magazines, advertising, the culture. It's all around them, the youth culture. And they feel like, if they can get a younger woman, it will make them be more desirable, or it'll make them feel younger. But there is a large number of people out there, like my husband, who, would prefer the company of someone closer to their own age, because, they like to share, their history. They like to share the things that they enjoyed growing up, the same music and the same movies. And we often enjoy watching old movies together that we have seen in the past, and or sharing them with the other who hadn't seen it yet. We enjoy listening to old music, and we put together a Spotify list of old songs for our wedding that have been delightful to continue to enjoy well past the wedding. We like to go out to dinner and, walk along the beach and all those old romantic things. And I have to say, being a little old-fashioned myself, I really appreciate it when Yitzi pulls the chair out for me to sit down or opens the door for me. I mean, I know that's very, very not a women's lib, but it shows an appreciation and a valuing of me, I believe, that he wants to look out for me and take care of me and protect me. And I think that's just great. So I'm fine with that.
I'll just throw in that's part of proper Texas etiquette too.
So you might think of other assumptions that I haven't mentioned already tonight. And if you do, you can jot them down, but just ask yourself, are they true? I would say that most of the assumptions we make are not true. You know, even going back to the old thing of assume makes an ass of you and me. It does, because we hang on to things that are not true, and they color our lives. They lead us away from what we want and towards what we don't want in life. So how do we deal with these assumptions? Well, the first step is awareness. Just going back over what we talked about tonight. If you find yourself with an assumption, you can trace it back to the emotion that triggered it, one of those 5 that we talked about. And remember that you're not your emotions, that you are the one that's in charge, not your emotions, that you're the one that controls your behavior and not your emotions. So it's when you realize that, it's very freeing. And if you were to experience a pure emotion without all the story, but just the pure raw emotion, just allowing yourself to really feel it, I can tell you that in 90 seconds, it will completely dissipate. So you don't have to be afraid, say, to feel anger or rage or jealousy or even sadness. It's not going to run away with you. You're the one in control. Emotions are actually energy in motion, emotions. So I wanted to let you know that if you want to continue, that if what we've told you tonight has perked your attention, that there are ways that you can continue to work with us. When we got married, you know, as Yitzi said, people told us that we inspired them, that we gave them hope. One even said, you show that there's a God in the world. And we got to thinking that if we could be that inspiring just by getting married, then if we could put our talents and our skills together, we could put together a program that could help many more mature singles out there get married. And this is what we put together. We put together a 6-week mastermind program. And what a mastermind is it gives you the benefit of not only learning from the coaches, but learning from the other participants, from their knowledge and their experience, and getting an opportunity to support and be supported by each other. So we will actually be putting together a community, and this community will be on WhatsApp or Signal, whatever the group decides, and you'll be able to put your own questions there 24/7 and get answers, either from us or from other members of the group. So I want to, okay, and also I want to tell you that we'll be covering subjects such as myths and realities, getting a positive mindset, clearing our limiting beliefs, removing the baggage that we're carrying around with us. There's some very deep clearing exercises that I'll be leading us through that will clear issues from the past, and that'll clear issues from old relationships. Extremely powerful stuff that I know you're going to enjoy, and that will help you find the breakthroughs that you're trying to get. In addition, we're going to be offering everyone who signs up a bonus of having a half-an-hour session with either one of us to ask your own personal questions. And that's including the 6 90-minute sessions, the personal access to us, the WhatsApp group community, and there may be some unannounced bonuses that I'm holding back for now. So I'm encouraging you to get in touch with us. Check our website, which is www.findingloveagain.net. That's findingloveagain.net. And we will be getting in touch with you in the next few days with a link to this replay that you can share with others, because we're hoping to share this with people all over the world that speak English. If we get enough men and women, we'll have separate groups. Otherwise, we'll have separate groups anyway. We'll have a women's group and a separate men's group. And you can contact us with any of your questions or ideas. We would love to hear from you. We would love to learn more about what you want. And so I want to thank you for joining us today. Please let us know what you think, what you feel, how we can improve, and we'll be in touch shortly. And we look forward to hearing from you. So on behalf of Yitzi and myself, thank you and have a good evening.
Have a great evening, and we look forward to getting to know all of you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.